Ladies and gentlemen, you are more than welcome to this morning's episode of the Coffee at 11 show, brought to you via Zoom on this beautiful midweek morning. And delighted to be here, courtesy of wigwam.ie SME peer support. Delighted to have my special guest and friend for some years now, Sarah Gillespie, join us. Sarah, say hi and show us how you got a coffee mug with you.
I do. Good morning, Colm. It's lovely to be here.
Indeed, it's lovely for you to join us. Thank you all the way from sunny Donegal. I assume it's sunny Donegal, is it?
It is. It's absolutely beautiful. We have been blessed with weather for the last few weeks.
Except you've been locked into 2 kilometres, and you were saying before the show that you've now got 5 kilometres, so the beaches are now within access.
The beaches are back within reach, yeah. We were just outside the kilometre zone whenever we were stuck in 2 kilometres, but we're back now, so we're delighted.
We're delighted for you. We're not at all jealous, which is great. That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I bring Sarah in her own words, let me tell you what I've learned about Sarah in recent times. So obviously name Sarah Gillespie, business name RINKA Kids Fitness and Wellness. That's RINKA, Kids Fitness and Wellness. She says the business at RINKA, we provide a dynamic and fun system for managing children's health and well-being through active and creative fitness classes. We strive to offer alternatives to mainstream sports, ensuring we are helping all kids reach their physical activity requirements and not just those who love sport already. Love that. We believe the secret is in building confidence, and therefore our emphasis is on participation and not perfection. Love that too. Teach every child that they can do it, and the chances are they will do it. That's magic stuff. Established 4 years ago. How many employees? 2 full-time, 12 part-time, and 16 franchisees. Fantastic, right? So Sarah is the energetic founder of RINKA Kids Fitness and Wellness, and oozes passion for inspiring children to love fitness. As once the youngest franchisee of the Helen O'Grady Drama Academy, Sarah's initiation into the world of business started at only 18 years of age, and this experience began her understanding of the importance of self-confidence in a child's life. As a former competitive Irish dancer, Sarah grew up with a natural love for fitness, but when a serious car accident, and I've heard about that, ladies, you're generally going to hear about that in a little while, a serious car accident in 2010 changed her life for good. RINKA was created to help all kids develop the confidence to love health and fitness, and it was designed specifically as a franchise because of Sarah's car accident. So I'm really excited that you would share that part of your journey to us in good time, Before we go there, Sarah Gillespie, will you please bring us back to those early years? Who is Sarah Gillespie before all of this, before RINKA?
Well, Colm, I was raised in Donegal. I am the eldest of 5, so growing up was always great fun. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother, one very spoilt brother, the only boy. But for us, myself and my 3 sisters, all 4 of us danced. So Irish dancing was a religion in our house, basically. 2 of my sisters are still dancing. So we grew up in a world of competitive dance. We absolutely loved it. So this would very much have been part of my childhood and part of really who I am now. I did my leaving cert, did a very good leaving cert, and applied for college, but deferred it for a year. And in that year, I went to America to teach dance. So I spent time in Texas teaching Irish dance, and I honestly had one of the best experiences of my life. I absolutely loved every minute of it. It was such an adventure at that age. So when I came home to Donegal, I was coming home to take up my place in college, but I no more wanted to go to college after having done what I had done. So I remember so clearly sitting in the sitting room at home with Dad by the fire one evening, and I said, you know, I don't think I want to go to college just yet. And Daddy says, right, Sarah, that's fine, but you better have a plan. Now, I no more had a plan either, but this is sort of where the story all began, really. And my own father has worked, he's run his own businesses for years, so I come from a self-employed background, and Daddy would have had a keen interest in franchising, and he was the one that came across this advert for the Helen O'Grady Drama Academy. And the way the ad was sort of based was for teachers who no longer wanted to be teachers, but loved working with kids, wanted to, you know, help children's self-confidence develop. And this sort of really struck a chord with me. Now, obviously, I wasn't a teacher, but I had been teaching dance for years, and I thought, what have I got to lose? I'll get in touch with these guys and see. So I remember going down to Galway. They came over. There were no branches in the Republic of Ireland at the time. They were in the UK. It was an Australian-based franchise, but they were in the UK. So these guys came over from Ireland, and Daddy and I went to meet them in Galway. And literally, swings and roundabouts anyway, they decided that, with Dad's backing, that I had the enthusiasm, the energy, and they were going to take a punt on this. So at 18, I went to Bristol to train with them and came home and set up the first branch of this franchise. So by the time I was 19, I had a staff of 5 and over 400 kids a week attending drama classes. So I suppose when I look back at that, I didn't really have any fear at all because I didn't know what to be scared of. So I jumped straight in and I learned so much at that point. Now, I was only 20, 21, and anybody that set up a business will know those couple of years were absolutely crazy. And they were no less crazy just because I was young. I suppose I had even more to learn than a lot of people had to learn. But I was really beginning to miss competitive dance. And that clock was beginning to tick a bit. And I thought, if I don't go back to this, I'm never going to get the chance to go back to it. And I did. I started dancing again. And I really, really, at that point is when I really developed a serious love for health and fitness. My interest in it was really growing and I wanted to know more. So at 21, I sold the Helen O'Grady Academy to one of the girls that was actually working for me at the time. She took it on and that became hers. And I decided to move to Kildare to study with the National Sports College. And at this point in time, I suppose I was 21, I was still competing. I was working towards the World Championships. I'd qualified for that, and I was studying to become a sports therapist and a personal trainer. And at this point, everything in my bubble revolved around competitive dance, around how my body worked, how fit I could be, how I could challenge myself. And what I wanted to do was get into the field of working with competitive dancers. So I wanted to be able to train them. I wanted to be able to teach them how to get as fit as they could. And I wanted to be able to work with injury. So I had, through my entire career, broken ankles coming out my ears. And I'd been through an awful lot of recoveries through dance injuries. And this really, really interested me. So that was it. I thought I'd sort of, figured out my path, figured out where I wanted to be. And at this sort of 22 point, this is where I was. And this is then when it all changed. So
before you go there, I'm furiously trying to keep up here. It is such a dynamic journey already, and you're only 22, right? So a handful of things, so we don't lose some of the nuggets, right? I love the fact that you referred to the only boy in the house as a very spoiled brother. Poor guy, give the guy a chance. Like that guy.
Spoiled rotten.
He will suffer from man flu in time. So, give the guy, right? I love the fact that you deferred college for a year. You brought us through a lovely homely picture, dare I say it. You said, I went in and sat with Daddy in front of the fire. That was beautiful, right? And I spoke to Daddy about what I wanted to do, and Daddy said, yeah, let's work this out. Fantastic. He then backed you in every sense, encouragement-wise, etc., to get the first franchise, and you stepped up. And I love the fact that you said, I didn't know what to be afraid of, so I wasn't afraid. It's magic.
I jumped straight in there.
Beautiful, yeah. I also figured out through it, right? I wrote down, she must be a handy dancer, right? Yeah. And then you started talking about the World Championships, and I scratched out word handy dancer. There's nothing handy at all about you if you're doing the Worlds, right? Happy days. The other thing that struck me from your journey was great clarity came into your journey, but it came in over time. And I love that. Too many people, I was having some chats earlier with some people, too many people are hoping for the answer to, arrive, the big picture now. It's not about that. It's about taking a direction and letting it unfold over time. Really love that. So thank you for that, Sarah. So we're 22, right? Everything's going swimmingly. You're on track to start working with world-class professionals. And then what?
And then I went to Germany for a weekend, just for a weekend away. It would have been January 2010. The weather here, if you remember, was really, really bad that winter. It was equally as bad in Germany. And we were getting an early flight home on the Monday morning. and we were on the road maybe about 5 in the morning and on our way to the airport. It was a Ryanair airport, so it was off the main tracks. The car that I was a passenger in slipped on ice, and we slipped to the other side of the road and was hit by an oncoming lorry. So at that point, everything as I knew it went out the window. So I spent time in intensive care in the hospital in Germany. Now, when I look back on that, I actually think it was probably the biggest blessing that happened along the whole journey, because the healthcare system in Germany was just second to none. The care that I got, the treatment that I got, I mean, it was just phenomenal. I'll never forget the journey that I made home to Donegal. It happened over a space of about 3 days because I still wasn't well enough to actually fly. My blood count was too low. So I'd had a number of surgeries in Germany at the time. I had, if you want a list of injuries, both arms were broken. The lining of my stomach had been ruptured. My liver had been pierced. I had damage done to my spleen. I had broken bones in my feet. I had open wounds here, so I was stitched. I was a sight. And they actually, to get me home, I got a train from Frankfurt to Brussels, the Eurostar from Brussels to London, a train from London to Wales, the boat to Dublin, and then a car run home to Donegal. And there was nothing that was keeping me in Dublin when I got back to Ireland. I just wanted to go home so badly. But in Germany, what they even did was they didn't cast my foot. They didn't cast one of my feet that had the broken bones in it to allow me to hobble to get through. So I made it home in pieces, but I got there.
Let me stop you there and just let's give you a round of applause for it. We're blessed. You're blessed that you're here on this planet, and we're blessed that you're here in the cafe with us this morning. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's funny, you know, though, when I look back at that point, I didn't really realise how sick I was until I got home. So my recovery only began when I got back to Donegal. Like, Germany patched me up and they did the stitches and they put in the pins and they did the initial work. But the journey really started when I got home. And I went through 9 surgeries over the space of about 4 years after that. And one of the biggest issues that I had at the time was I had completely lost the power to my right arm. So I wasn't able to, I could see it and I could twitch my wrist. I learned to straighten my hair by flicking my head upside down and using the straighteners of my hands at the bottom. But life as I knew it, like, I mean, the option of being a sports therapist with one arm wasn't viable. Dancing was completely not an option. The damage that had been done to my stomach was far too severe to be able to consider dancing. So at that point, my head was in a complete and utter spin, because not only, I suppose, was life as I knew it out the window, it was everything that I had planned was also out the window. So I was standing there sort of thinking, this isn't fair. I have finally decided what I want to do, and I was gone, and now I don't know what to do. I had identified as a dancer for so many years, and when that's just sort of pulled away, it took me a very long time then to figure out who I was without all of these things. So what I decided to do was go back to college. So the accident was in the January. That September, I enrolled in NUI in Maynooth to do a degree in business management. And my thought process at the time was that because I'd had the franchise experience with Helen O'Grady, I had a few years of business experience. I came from a business household. I was like, I can be good at business. I can do this. So if this is the road that I'm going to take, I may as well have a degree in it. So I went and I did the degree. I had 2 surgeries every year of the degree. So really, when I look at it now, the degree was just a chance to recover, because I couldn't have worked. So by the time I'd recovered, I had a degree to show for it. So it was worth it.
Incredible. No, we've got something there. That's incredible. You know, think about how special that is in terms of your approach to it. You know, I wrote it down there. January 2010, you're on the side of the road in Germany, literally in bits, right? And September 2010, you're on the road recovery with several years ahead of you, and you decide to do a degree. You know, the majority of people, I think it's fair to say, would lie down under that. woe is me, my dreams are shattered, my body's shattered, my dreams are shattered, you know, please look after me. But you stepped up yet again, and quite incredible. Yeah, thank you for your honesty here and your inspiration. Right, Ruth, come on, where are we? Keep us going.
Okay. Well, I did the degree, and do you know, funny, sometimes when I look back, I do think that a lot of what drove me through the initial few years was that I really hadn't come to terms with how sick I was. I think in my head, I was going to get back to dancing. I was going to get back into the gym. I wanted to lift weights again. I wanted to be a personal trainer again. I so badly wanted to not have let the car accident affect who I was as a person that I kept trying to get back there. So whenever I finished my degree, literally just before I graduated, I was offered a job as an assistant manager in the gym. So I thought, this is wonderful. This is everything tied together. So this would have been 2014, and I was back in this gym. It was a chain, and I was based in Kildare. And I was working one night, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the one-to-one work with people, and there was so many people coming in that really, you know, had injuries to overcome, had an awful lot of issues with health, with their weight, and I really loved being in that position. But it was a massive turning point for me personally, because I probably wasn't ready to be in that environment, because I hadn't accepted that I couldn't do it yet. And I continued to try and lift weights, and I continued to try and push it. And one night on the gym floor, I lifted something far too heavy and ruptured one of the repairs in my stomach. So I was taken back into hospital for another surgery, and that was the real, okay, you are not who you used to be. You can't do what you used to be able to do. What are you going to do next? And it was at that point then that RINKA began. So whenever I was in the gym, an awful lot of people were coming in, and they're like, if only I had loved fitness when I was a child. You know, I gave up football far too young. I was never any good at it. I didn't really enjoy it. I never found anything since. And this message was constantly being replayed. And I remember in Germany, they told me that had I not been as fit as I was, there's no way that I would have made the recovery that I had made. It was completely down to my cardiovascular health. My lungs were strong. Everything was good. And because of that, I was able to make my recovery. And this all really started to gel with me, because it actually nearly made me angry. I only survived that accident because I was fit and healthy. I was only fit and healthy because I loved dance. And what about all of those kids out there who are not going to be dancers, are not going to be footballers, are not into athletics? You know, where are they meant to find the resilience to overcome whatever they're going to have to overcome? And, you know, I often say, like, we never wish injury on anybody, but we're all going to have illnesses at some point. We're all going to have a point where we need our systems to be able to fight for us. And if we're not giving kids those skills and those, you know, that sort of interest at a young age, then what hope are they going to have? And that is where RINKA began.
Okay, and before we go to that piece, you know, phase two, Shelley's clapping away there for sure. I'll tell you what struck me in that last segment there. You went back into it, got stuck back in as only Sarah Gillespie can, right? As superhuman and doing all the stuff and helping people and able to talk their language because they had injuries too, and you were, etc. Right? But pushing yourself too hard to the extent that you ruptured one of the repairs in your stomach, and then you realised, okay. And I'll tell you what came to me when I heard you saying that. It's that the universe wants you to be doing what you're doing now, and it didn't want, and it tried to stop you in Germany and failed, right? I tried to direct you there, and I think it's that's my sense of where you're at. You know, you're passionate about what you do for all the reasons you've explained to us, and you've got the franchise experience prior to all of this. It's all gelling together as far as I can see, and it was the perfect plan for Sarah Gillespie, and it's lovely to just hear that. So I'll give you
thank you. No, without a doubt, that's what I always say to people, because people often say, God, where did the idea come from? I'm like, well, now, how long have you got till I tell you where this idea came from?
Well, I'm just going to comment on one more thing, and then I'm going to let you back in and off again, which is, firstly, clearly your right arm is working again.
That's actually a great story, because whenever I was going through all the physio with this, now I have a pin in it, but it doesn't, I have about 90% movement. I can't quite touch that finger off that shoulder, but that's all. And I remember working with the physio, and he had me doing some resistant band work, and I asked him, could I take the band home? And he says, in your arse, are you taking that band home? Because I know you will exhaust yourself. So, and I remember sitting with the surgeon one time too, and my mum was sitting with me in the appointment, and he said, look, you know, you really are going to have to accept that really this arm is probably as good as it's going to be. And I got annoyed, and I said, well, if you think this is as good as it's going to be, you don't know me, because I remember Mommy hit the side of my leg. She's here, mind your manners. I was like, no, they're not telling me that it's not going to work. It is going to work, and it does work. You know, the only issue I have is the pin. There's a pin in this arm as well, and the only time this pin annoys me is if I try to do planks with my elbows on the floor, so I can't do those because it wiggles, so I have to use my hands on the floor.
I suppose in your arse is a technical term, is it?
Yeah.
Medical term. Clearly.
The medical term, yeah.
Love that. Another trait, dare I say, that you put to very good use is you get annoyed a lot and you get angry a lot, right? With people that don't share your view of the world, and I just and I can just see your mother slapping you on the leg. Don't be letting the family down, Sarah.
Well, they're not telling me what I can and can't do with my own arm.
we can see that. But when I met you first a few years ago, I was blown away by the story. I'm quite sure the people in the cafe are today, and anybody who will listen to this into the future. But going back to why you've decided to turn it into a franchise, so we're clear on why you're working with kids and all this type of stuff, and using your passion and using your knowledge, etc., to work with the group kids. The fact that you actually from day one, this is really important, I think, you decided this is going to be a franchise is because you recognized that physically you would not have the strength that you would have had prior to the accident. So you had to set it up so that other people could run your program and spread it out to more kids. Really delighted with that. And so now roll on, you got it up and running, and you're now 16 franchisees around the country, perhaps elsewhere. Tell us more about that, please.
Yeah, so as you say, I knew it was a big growth step for me. I knew that I couldn't be the teacher, and the program had to work in a way that other people could teach it. So I started in Donegal and brought on my first team, and I suppose the initial response to the classes was so much more positive than I ever really expected myself. You know, I knew what I was doing. I just didn't know if other people were ready to receive it, and they were, and it was brilliant. And the feedback that we got was the fact that the emphasis was on fun, the fact that it was on building confidence. There was absolutely no element of competition. It was about being silly, letting kids enjoy themselves. So the franchise then, I decided, you know, to grow the franchise. 2016 would have been the start of that. And I have the most amazing team of people out there, and they all are out in their own areas doing exactly what RINKA is meant to be. They are RINKA. You know, at the end of the day, it's an idea if I'm here on my own, but it's all the other people that are out there that really, you know, they make it come to life. And I made a big choice last year to change the business model, and as of September, we stopped franchising and directly employ employees now. So there was kind of, I suppose, two reasons to this choice. The first was that with the franchisees, when you work with kids, you know, you absolutely have to love working with kids. There's no in-between ground, because if you don't love working with kids, it would be the worst job in the world. There's no way you could pretend to do it. So what we were looking for when we were looking for franchisees were nearly two people rolled into one. We wanted people who loved working with kids, but who also loved running a business. And it was actually quite hard to find that personality. So come September last year, we started to just directly employ people, and their only role was to love working with kids. So they were able to focus on what they did, and I was able to focus on the other bit, and it has worked really well now. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has thrown everything up in the air for everyone, but we'll talk about that later. But between September and March was really, really exciting.
Okay, now I'm curious with that, and again, thanks. And we've got a picture of what the business looks like, and it makes perfect sense that you want people who love working with kids. It also makes perfect sense that if you don't love working with kids, you know, it's not for you, for sure. But I'll tell you, I had heard through the grapevine somewhere that you had gone from the franchise model to the employment model. So when I got your bio sheet in advance of this, I was somewhat surprised to see, and I was able to call out this morning, you've got 16 franchisees. So how does that gel? Have they all now been subsumed into RINKA, the company, or?
The franchisees were given a choice. So they could either have stayed where they were as franchisees or come on board as direct employees. Some have stayed, some have come on board. So they, you know, the ones that are up and running, some of them are with me since 2016 and are running full-time businesses and are really, you know, really successful and happy with what they're doing. Some of the ones that came over were working only part-time and we're happy to do it this way. So we've left it. So basically going forward, we're not taking on new franchisees. Anyone that joins will be a direct employee from now.
Yeah, great. That clarifies it for me. Thank you for that. Couldn't quite get my head around it, but it makes perfect sense. It also makes perfect sense, by the way, that those who decided to remain franchisees have done so because they're straddling both camps. They love working with children. They love run their own business, and clearly, you as master franchisor are happy with them, and they happy with you. So the relationship works. And several of your people, not quite sure whether franchisees or otherwise, connected with us overnight. So thank you, ladies and gents, for doing that overnight. It's lovely to have you in the cafe here today. Great stuff, great stuff. So it was rocking and rolling. Prior to COVID hitting, what would have been the most number of children that you would have seen through your network in a given week?
Just short of 3,000.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Build a bus, ladies.
It was fantastic. It really was fantastic. We've had the last 12 months have been a really exciting 12 months. The new employees that we've brought on they're just amazing people. These guys, I think it's actually my biggest source of pride whenever I sit back and watch them bring the classes to life in exactly the way I imagined it. And it's just unbelievably satisfying to think that, you know, in the space of 7 days, we've boosted the confidence of 3,000 kids. We've introduced 3,000 children to, you know, something that they maybe wouldn't have tried before, or there's actually no words for that. It's mind blowing. And bringing new people into the team that we have, they just mind each other. They're so supportive. It's a fabulous network.
It's obvious, and but it also comes from the top. You know, you're very caring in your approach to your kids, obviously, and to your employees and franchisees. So it flows through the whole organisation. That's wonderful. On top of that, by the way, it's 3,000 children in any given week. Over a series of years, you'd be educating a generation. You know, it's not just 3,000 kids. It's a recurring, growing cohort, which is wonderful. Yeah, congratulations.
And I have some kids that have been with me from my very first class in Donegal in 2015, and they just grow with us, and it is fantastic. The other thing that we do as well is we work with schools. So, you know, we have a relationship with maybe about 80 schools across the country, and getting into the schools, I'm so passionate about, because, you know, at the end of the day, whenever you're working with after school classes, you're still only reaching the kids that are privileged enough to come from homes that are able to send them, or, you know, that have parents that are aware of the benefits of sending them or whatever. And when you're in the schools, you're getting everybody, and everybody is treated as equal. And that's something that I just think is so important, that the more work that we could do through the schools, sort of the happier I would be.
I'll join Anne Kristen, who's joining us from Malmo in Sweden this morning, with giving you the bus for that one. That's great work, great work. It reminded me there, I was thinking of Coder Dojo. It was a lovely idea for teaching young kids how to code and get familiar with coding from a very early age. And no negative intent in what I'm about to say next, but the reality is it's a middle class pursuit. It's where Mammy and Daddy are able to put little Johnny and Mary into the car and drive them to Coder Dojo and give them a little laptop, etc. You know, so there's a whole swathe of society that gets left out for reasons beyond their control.
Absolutely.
There's no negative intent in that. I love anybody who's trying anything, but you've identified that unless you can get into the schools, there's only a swathe of kids left out of the net. Yeah, happy days. Well done, Sarah. Okay, so then COVID hit. What changed?
Everything. Life as I know it changed again. So March 12th, the government decides to close the schools. And that was us finished. So with absolutely, really with no warning, we just went, that's it. Birthday parties that we run were cancelled, our Easter camps were cancelled, all of our classes were gone. So what I basically did was allowed myself about 3 days to panic and then went, okay, now what's the plan? So the reality is for us, with the way that we work, online classes, making a revenue from online classes wasn't going to be an option. So what we've done for the last 8, 9 weeks is really focus on how we can give back to the people that have been so good to us. So we've had a completely free of charge online program for kids to follow every single day since the shutdown started. We've had free exercise workouts, we've had art videos to follow, we've had mindfulness. I bake on a Friday live for kids to follow. And my real sole focus has been to be just a source of positivity for parents. So a way of keeping in touch with, the kids that we see, and we miss them. We see them on a weekly basis and we don't get to see them now. And really just giving back for the last couple of weeks. And it's going to be like that. It looks like, our phase is the 10th of August. Hopefully we'll get a few summer camps in and we'll be back in action for September. But the reality is for business, we've just stopped from March. And that has been, in all my experience, a shocking experience. But, it's so important to realize at this point in time, that's completely and utterly out of my control. So at one point I did think, okay, I need to figure out how to make as much money as I can through online classes. No, it wasn't an option. I couldn't give the RINKA service through an online class. You can't engage a 3-year-old through a phone. So the reality was, right, let's focus on our social media. Let's focus on keeping the brand to the fore, and let's just give parents as much help to get through lockdown as we possibly can. And when we're ready to get back up and running, we'll be ready to go. And it's been really enjoyable. The feedback has been fantastic. And, it's been a chance to totally do things that we don't normally do. And I've really enjoyed it.
It's fantastic to hear. Fantastic to hear how you've responded. I get it. I was with you because my day job is school lunches, so we were on the same day that you were. And I get the panic. Actually, with a guest in the show a couple of weeks back, and they said that, I think this lady's husband said, he was very sort of sanguine. He said, let there be no panic, but if there's going to be panic, let it be organised, right? And you said, I gave myself 3 days to panic. I think they're very important. You acknowledged it, what's going to happen, headless chicken, and then you called it and said, right, the 3 days is up. What are you going to do now? Second thing that I love about what you've done, and it's been a theme across the Coffee Level show for the last number of months, is stop selling, start serving. The head naturally goes into what can we sell people online, et cetera, et cetera. And you said, no, let's just serve our client base. And very interestingly, you said 2 things. You said, you can't engage a 3-year-old through a phone. Brilliant phrase. You can't engage a 3-year-old through a phone, right? The second thing that you said on the back of that was, so we decided to look after our parents, because let's be honest, parents of young children are delighted to send their children to a lovely environment like yours for an hour or a couple of hours. Delighted, gives them a break, and it's positive, all those things. And now they find themselves in lockdown with those self-same children. So you've zoomed in somehow to their homes to give them a break and support them. So, boo the bus.
Yeah.
Great stuff, great stuff. Because the payback will come in time.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for payback. You did it you said, to keep yourselves top of mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady is a businesswoman par excellence. There are golden nuggets have been dropped in front of us here all morning. And there's, again, Sweden. The vote is in 12 points. Right? Really good. Sarah, it's a pleasure chatting to you. Right, we've sort of run way over the normal time of this segment, but I have to ask you real quick, what's it going to be like post-COVID, real quick?
I hope that it's going to be an awful lot more relaxed than it was beforehand. I think family values are going to come back to the top of the pot again. I think this new normal is definitely going to be a good thing, and I definitely hope that we don't go back to the way things were. I think everybody needs more flexibility. We need more time, and we need to be allowed to explore other things. The sort of leaving at 6 in the morning and coming back at 10 at night has to be gone.
I think you're preaching to the converted here. We're all loving, dare I say it, on behalf of everybody, we're sort of loving lockdown in a weird sort of way. Of course, this type of connection is very important. You know, we can't get isolated. Listen, real pleasure, real pleasure. We're going to go to Q&A from the floor in a second, right? With Princess Shelley. But before we do that, could I ask you for one tip? What would you say to your nearest? You'll get through COVID best, come out the best, in best shape by doing blah. What's the blah for you, please?
I think we need to work backwards from how we want our memories to be of this time. So decide when COVID is over, when the lockdown is over, what way do you want to remember it? So do you want to remember it being absolutely stressed out, or do you want to remember it being the time that you learned how to bake, the time that you had time to work on yourself, the time that you just went, look, this is out of my hands, so go with it. And I think that's really important. Live the story that you want to be able to tell about it. And if we do that, we'll have good memories of it.
Wisdom beyond your years, young lady. Wisdom beyond your years. I love it. I love it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, who would like to ask Sarah a question? Eamon Smith has a question. Eamon.
Thanks, Colm. Good morning, Sarah.
Hi.
Well, I put a comment in the chat, which I'm sure Shelley will read out in a moment, but my question, listening to you, is, given all you said, and thank you so much, I'm just sitting here drinking it in and scribbling away. You talk about things like clarity coming in over time, and listen to your story. Could you share, question I like, because I get a lot out of this for myself, my own journey, maybe what's your most fundamental grounding thing, the thing you like to do the most that brings you back to here, now, I'm good, you know, I'm focused. What's the first thing that you would, your reset, your grounding, what works for you best?
This is going to sound really silly. I have the same teddy that I have had since I was about 6, and that teddy has gone absolutely everywhere with me. So for me, my is on the sofa with a cup of tea, fluffy socks, and my teddy. And when I have that, I'm able to go, okay, this here right now, this is what matters, and everything else is going to come and go. I think I always try to tune into this will actually pass over. If it's good, enjoy it, because it's not going to last forever. If it's bad, don't panic, because it's not going to last forever. And it's that sense of being able to really focus on, yeah, I'm here, I've got this little bit that comes with me everywhere, and everything else around me will pass, if that helps.
Wow, brilliant. Guard that teddy with your life.
Yeah, it's my best friend.
Eamon Smith, thank you for that lovely question. And there is a very special response to same. That was just gorgeous. What's your teddy's name?
Dog.
Your teddy is called Dog. Right. Okay. Moving swiftly on. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Dog the teddy. There since you were 6. Love it, love it. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Princess Shelley. Princess Shelley, what's been going on in the cafe, please?
Hey Sarah, thank you. You know, you're a wonderful, wonderful speaker. Apart from all the wonderful achievements that you've already reached and the great story that you tell, you have us all captivated here in the cafe, you know. And Kristen, who joins us every day, she's just gone, and she's based in Sweden, and she's opened up the cafe saying, hello everybody, nice to see you again. So so we've another comment coming from her now in a moment. Eamon says, who you've just spoken to, Sarah, I love the way you have the eyes and the heart to find blessings in your life and reveal your gifts. No matter how dark the situation appeared to be, it's an honour to sit here listening and learning from your journey.
That's lovely.
Isn't that lovely? And I can only echo that. I mean, that is just, it has been an honour to listen to all you've overcome and all you've achieved. It really, really is. Alex O'Connor has joined us in the cafe today and says, so incredibly positive and strong, Sarah X. So that was nice.
That's one of our lovely instructors.
Oh, very nice. That's great that you're joining us, Alex. That's lovely. I think we hear from another one of your instructors in a moment, actually. Eamon then popped in your platform, Sarah, your Facebook, Instagram, and your Twitter. So some of our cafe attendees can access you that way. And then Anne Kristen, who was joining us but has gone, she says, now I was watching the cafe while you were talking and you were saying how she was nodding along. She got a background in nursing, and when you were talking about it was your cardiovascular fitness and the fact that you were so fit that you came through. And I saw Sarah, who is a nurse, nodding, so she obviously kind of can relate that kind of supporting you, if you like. And also relating to when you were talking about privileged kids only getting the opportunities. And again, Sarah, Anne seemed to really appreciate that. She was nodding really enthusiastically with that. And Anne left the comment, you're a beautiful inspiration, and as Colm says, the universe has really pointed out an important mission for you to support children's lives. Heart is what she put there.
Oh, that's lovely.
From a very sad accident to a very beautiful, inspirational and important mission. I love to hear your engagement and feel your spirit. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. I think that's another round of applause.
Yeah, that's lovely.
So yes, and then Emma Rooney, who I understand is one of your instructors, Sarah,
yes.
right? Emma says, as franchisee owner, I couldn't imagine working with a better person than Sarah. She's always on hand to offer advice and help us grow. Isn't that lovely?
That's lovely. Emma's a wee pet.
Is she? And she's here joining us today. And then I'm probably saying this wrong, Evelyn. Meeting Sarah and becoming a franchisee in Donegal has been the best decision ever. It's absolutely the best job. So I think that's nice as well.
That's another little star, yeah.
And then Michael McNulty, I don't know, he says...
Oh, are you sure you want to read that one out? That's my husband.
Oh, is it? I was going to say, I'm
He's
not...
in the sitting room, so what's he saying?
I was wondering, because I was like, oh, yeah, he said, you didn't mention your wedding ring finger on your list of injuries, Sarah. Do you have a name for it?
Oh, well, I am going to kill him.
So I was like, we have pup in the room.
During the car accident, one of the injuries that I had was my wedding ring finger got really badly damaged. So I don't have a name for it. My husband calls it the runt. And I wear my wedding ring on the other hand.
Wow, that's so... Well, thank you, Michael. Thanks for giving us that little nugget. That's great. You can take that up with him later on. And then Kristen says, I'm so happy I've met Sarah when I did. She's so strong and I've learned so much from her. I'm honoured to be part of this team. So that's another one of the instructors joining us.
Yeah.
And then finally, I had to keep my camera off. I cry every time I hear Sarah's story. It's been a privilege to be part of the RINKA team and its growth. And Michael, you are a brat.
Yes.
So that's another one of your team.
That's amazing. That's Sandra.
Isn't that lovely? And just before I invite, we'll have time for one more question if anybody would like to raise a hand. Just before I do, you know, you said, and I haven't heard it before, you said about the accident being a blessing. Like I've never, like my husband had prostate cancer at 45, and we always say 10 years later, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to him. It transformed our lives for the better. And people don't get that when you say it. They kind of frown and say, how can something, such a terrible time be such a blessing? And it was lovely for you to say and to realize that takes such great wisdom, and thank you so much for being here in the cafe with us today. Would anybody like to ask a question? If anybody would like to raise a hand, Sarah.
It's been a fabulous day. I admire your resilience. You're phenomenal, Sarah. I mean, you're just fantastic, and I admire you enormously because you've had some struggles and did nothing put you down. You just kept. Oh, well done.
Anyway, Sarah.
Keep going. Well
keep
done.
going.
You're an inspiration. Well done.
That's back to you, Colm.
Princess Shelley, that was just a beautiful segment. It's one of my favourite segments on the Coffee at 11 show every day because I get to sit back and catch my breath and have a listen and have a sip of coffee. And so thank you, Princess Shelley, for that. And for everybody who got involved in that lovely segment. That was just gorgeous. A real tribute to you. And I reckon Michael McNulty's in big trouble. That's... Run now, Michael.
He was too quiet too. I thought I was waiting for something.
And I didn't quite catch the name, but whoever said that they kept their camera off because they always cry when they hear your story. Sandra, beautiful. Yeah.
Sandra's amazing. Yeah.
Come here. It's been a real privilege. We've no idea what's going to happen in the cafe on a daily basis, but every day it's be special. I think today has been extra special. Dare I say it? It's been extra special to have met you and for you to come in and share with us your amazing journey. So we'll give you a round of applause.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the opportunity.
I'm glad we didn't make it too hard for you, did we?
Not a bit.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, before we let you go, let me just tell you what's going to happen in the cafe tomorrow on the Coffee at 11 show. Some of you were treated to a little bit of interaction yesterday because there was a certain Carol Daly in the cafe having a cut off my guest because they know each other quite well, and so they were having a little bit of a banter back and forth, which is great. Anyway, Carl Daly is my special guest tomorrow. Carl is a really interesting man. Financial services, when I met him years ago when I moved into the Midwest, and he became part of a financial services company in more recent years. Let's say, I can't remember the time frame, but and then very recently sold out of that to set himself up in the social entrepreneur space. And he's involved with a website called Humanly, HUMANLI.IE. And it says, Humanly is making social impact possible. So I'm really excited to hear about that man's pivot and what he sees and what is required to make social impact possible. So if you have time at all tomorrow, please, you're cordially invited back into the cafe to hear Carl's story tomorrow. I want to finish by thanking the team, Princess Shelley for producing today's show, Eamon Smith for being maitre d'. Thank you for that. Katrina O'Brien, who does a wonderful job of editing and resharing later this evening. I want to thank the people at wigwam.ie SME Peer Support for their support. And finally, leaves me to say, Sarah Gillespie, namaste.
Thank you. Thanks a million.